Path of Exile 3.22 is set to be an absolute banger of a league, and I'm going to be doing just the same as I always do. We'll be back with 7 days, 7 farms, farming up all the currency, exploring the new league mechanic, the Trial of the Ancestors, trying to find all the best ways to min-max how to find those tattoos and the various other rewards you can get from this mechanic. However, there is something that all players try to do prior to getting into, a routine farm strategy, and that is to complete your Atlas. Now, there are 2 different ways that I'm going to share with you to do this. One of them is a bit more of an advanced strategy that requires your character to be able to get to Eater and Exarch and kill them on basically scraps. Think of it as more of a solo self-found strategy. Obviously, you're going to have access to some trade league, but this is going to speed you so fast through the Atlas that currency is not going to be raining initially.
What the hell?
Those rewards will be paid back later on as soon as you get into red altar farming, as the rewards from red altars early are phenomenal. The second strategy is for maybe more on the beginner side, someone who doesn't want to race through, someone who needs that bit of time to grab some currency up and to get rolling. And that strategy is going to be blight. Now, I've done many league start strategies in the past, and the most feedback I got from my max roll articles last league, which is more obviously beginner focused, was that blight helped a lot. So we're going to talk about the blight strategy that I think you should be running if you're on that more beginner side of things. You don't feel confident rushing through the Atlas on a very little amount of gear. Maybe it's your first time playing a build and you're not comfortable with those rapid fire upgrades that you need to do over and over again in order to be able to keep up with the increased difficulty of map tiers. And then at the end, we'll talk about some additional strategies that I think could be very powerful early on in the league. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start off with the Wandering Path tree. The pros and cons, which I'll show on the screen now, are as follows. The pros are that you're going to be among the first players to reach the end game and get into T16 maps, where you're going to be able to do these altars, kill bosses, drop these specific boss drops. If you think about some boss drops that are typically quite cheap as you progress into a league, that's not the case right at the beginning. Everybody needs these build enabling uniques. However common they are, the first 100, 200, 300, they're going to be very expensive. So getting there first has a big benefit in terms of your divine orbs. The cons, it's difficult. You need to know what you're doing. You're not allowed to sleep. It's kind of an exaggeration, but this does taper off very quickly. For the Atlas tree, we're going to start off as follows. If you look at the bottom of the screen now, we're going to follow straight up through June. The reason we take this route will become clear later on. We're going to grab Stream of Consciousness just to get some mechanics as we go, and then we're straight up to Wandering Path. You can't just ignore Stream of Consciousness. I like to take it. You're going to get more deliriums, more expeditions, all that kind of stuff. It's a little thing, but you can grab it if you really want to. Then we're going to start progressing towards more map nodes. So you can see we can get the higher chance to drop 1 tier higher. We're going to grab both of those. And then the reason I'm going to go across here instead of taking the gateway is simply we actually want these adjacent map drop chances. Looking at the strat summary, every single one of these we click, we get an additional 4%. And then we're going to grab the remaining map nodes on the left, and this is it. This is our map sustain is completely sorted. For every map, we're going to be dropping a connected map, and we're going to be good to go. So now we can start filling it out with the mechanics that we choose to do. For me, Expedition looks really exciting. Extreme Archaeology is a really cool, notable passive, so we're going to be grabbing that. So straight down at the bottom, you can see I'm grabbing the Expedition chance, and then we're going to come into the middle and do the same, grab more Expedition chance. And then on the right, we get them as well. We have to take this notable Ancient Writings, despite it giving us nothing, just to get to this 8% chance to spawn an expedition. When everything's added up, we have a 64% chance for our map to contain an expedition encounter. So 2 out of every 3 maps, we're going to be seeing an expedition. And then moving to the delirium here on the left, we're right next to it. Why not? We can get ourselves 24% chance to gain a delirium. Very, very nice. 1 in every 4 maps. Beautiful. And then head on up to the top left there, where we're going to grab the delirium orb chance, because early on, if you're just spamming a map and you're getting maybe 5 reward tiles on the delirium, you're going to drop 2 or 3 delirium orbs quite frequently. It's very common that this is going to happen, and early on, while they might not be that expensive, it certainly starts to add up because of how fast you're going to be doing these maps. Expedition is going to take no time at all because you've got Extreme Archaeology, so these maps are going to be rapid fire, so you're constantly going to be proccing that delirium and trying to get as many deli orbs as you can. If you need to sell them immediately to get some upgrades, do so. The same goes for any logbooks you drop. Just know, of course, if you let things sit in your stash on that day 1, day 2, you're going to wake up the following day and in all likelihood, it's going to be 2 or even 3 times the price. So if you get bulk on day 1 and you can make do without selling these items, you're going to make much more currency. Then we're going to continue on to the right. We're going to go up and grab some expedition chance. The reason I'm doing this is ultimately we want to get to these red altars. So doing it this way, it's the same amount of points, but we get another 8% chance for expedition. Yeah, we spend 2 points, but I'll say that that's worth it for the expedition chance. This is about the stage you'll start getting red altars very, very frequently. And then we're going to finish with some more delirium chance. And at this point, if you really want on your next 2 points, you can grab this non-effect node and delete these gateways. There we are. We've taken our long journey across the Atlas. Looks a bit funky, but it will serve you very well. Those first few days when you're farming those red altars, hoarding up delirium orbs, hoarding up logbooks, rolling the vendors as much as you can, this is going to absolutely print money. Now, importantly, from the red altars, there's a multitude of currencies you can get from them. Importantly, early on, Awakened Sextants don't sell for as much on those first few days as they will in the later stages of the league. And by later stages, I don't even mean month 2 or anything. I mean, even a week in, buying the Sextants in bulk, you want to wait for that. So if you can, sit on those Awakened Sextants until that price starts to go up. So I think red altars are much better early on, especially for the first few days, are just a no-brainer. I would never go blue. So that's the tree that I'm going to go with. That will be linked in the description. And we'll now move on to something more beginner-friendly. So now let's move on to the blight strategy. As you can see from the pros of this one, it's very easy. It's very straightforward, and you're going to have a constant supply of currency. And if you choose, you can slot in the new keystone for blight that basically turns the game into a tower defense simulator. The negative aspects of the strategy are, well, you made a cool build and you're not playing it anymore. You're just watching towers do stuff. For me, that's a bit of a buzzkill, but maybe you're into that. I know some people really enjoy that. Essences early on, if you're pushing map tiers, can be very deadly. If you get a bad combination of rare modifiers, they're going to hurt. Now, you also, for essences, you need to have some kind of understanding of how to sell these things in bulk. You could get away with selling the good ones, the corrupted essences, the dread essences, they sell for a fortune early on. But in order to sell the other essences, understanding how to sell in bulk is a barrier to entry for this strategy. Luckily for you, as with almost everything in this guide, if you would like to see it in further detail, you can head on over to the Max Roll guide. I went over everything there for you. If you need to know what to anoint on your rings, what towers to build, all that kind of stuff. But as for the skill tree, the first thing we're going to be focusing on is fixing that map sustain. We're going to head straight through the center and move on to the right to grab the first map cluster. And then we're not going to take the gateway just so we get more of these good small nodes. And we're going to head on over to the second shaping node, shaping the skies. Then we're going to head up the center, grab some more map nodes in the middle, and that should be us just about done. You can, if you like, grab Commissioned Officer. It's a 1 point here. You get an additional Kirak mission. Also, your maps have a 3% chance to grant an additional Kirak mission. So every time you complete a Kirak mission, he will refresh your shop so you can go through, grab anything you haven't done yet, and you'll have a new pool of maps to work through. Then we're going to start filling in our essence node. Start by picking up Prolific Essence at the bottom of the tree. This gives you an additional essence on all of your maps. The best one to pick up first. And then we're going to head to Amplified Energies to increase the tier of these essences. This basically means that you multiply the amount of essences you drop by 3 because it takes 3 to go up a tier. So Amplified Energies, very, very strong to get early on. The next cluster you're going to want to take is Crystal Resonance, so that you're duplicating any essence that has a shrieking. As you go up in map tier, the quality of those essences are going to increase. So around this time, you'll start seeing a few essences here and there. Follow this up by coming and grabbing Crystal Lattice, and that's it. That's essence done. This is going to be a great source of currency early on. Any good ones you find, you can sell on. Things like Shrieking Essence of Dread are very, very good early on, as players need them to craft bows for their EA Ballista, stuff like that. So a very, very good node. At this point, we want to start doing Blight. So what do? Well, we start by taking Fungal Bloom. This gives us 22% chance to receive a Blight encounter. Obviously, early on, you're not going to be able to get those Scarabs up and running, so getting this free chance for a Blight is very good. Come on down to the bottom and grab some more of those. Also, you're going to get some more monsters to spawn, which is just more loot. Finish this wheel to grab another 8% chance to get more Blight, and you're good to go. Move across to Epidemiology on the left here. Blighted maps, lucky chests, really good. And then you don't need to take this notable. Blight map crafting option is always available, 50%. You could take it, but then you won't be able to put essence on your map. I ignore this. I never take this on my Blight build. Sturdy Construction is one that you can take next. This is going to make the mobs take more damage, and the Ichor Pumps are healthier. So this isn't mandatory. If you have a really strong build, then you don't need to spend 4 points here. But if you're struggling or you just want the Blight encounters to go faster and be a bit easier, then come and grab Sturdy Construction. If you want to, I will say this, you can take Cassia's Pride. This will make it much easier if your build is fairly weak. You'll be able to rely more on those towers. There is some info in the Max Roll guide about how to put your towers, what anoints to get on your rings. I will update this as the league progresses. We can see the strategies that people are using to do this. So grab that if you really need it. If not, we're going to move on over and get our altars. We're about 80 points in. You should be at a tier where you're maybe seeing altars right now. If not, you can skip the altars and head on up to Distilled Fungus, because that's where we're going next. We get some additional jewelry. We get an additional boss, which just equals more loot, as well as all these chances for additional rewards. And then we're going to finish off in Blight Swarm. Blight chests in your maps have a 10% chance to contain an oil extractor, and the oils have a chance to be a tier higher. So these extractors, I go into them in the written guide, but essentially you will be dropping anointed jewelry, as you can see with distilled fungus. But there are certain anoints that obviously only take things like silver and gold oils. So if you can get a good eye for which ones those are, you'll be able to store them and then use your oil extractors to get silver and gold oils. Now, one thing I will say about this strategy as it relates to the previous league was last league we had Vengeance Cascade, which required 2 gold oils. This made Blight a bit more premium. Whether or not this is going to change remains to be seen. Obviously, gold oils are always going to be important. You need to be anointing Charisma, Whispers of Doom. Players always need this, but Blight could see a bit of a change, especially if a lot of people are doing it. But it's very, very consistent, and it's very easy to do once you get that understanding of how the towers work, how the oil extractors work. It's going to be a great strategy. I've recommended this to many, many people that have never played the Atlas before, and they've had a fantastic time. So that's the essence and Blight Tree. It's going to be a great strategy for someone that just wants to go at their own pace, have currency coming in always to maybe get those uniques that you need that any build guide you're using recommends.